The Toyota Tacoma has undoubtedly been one of the most popular pickup trucks in the US, and for a good reason. Its outstanding reliability, great design, and fantastic practicality are only a few of its merits. However, as good as it is, the Toyota Tacoma has its fair share of big flaws that severely hurt Tacoma's popularity, some of which might be deal breakers for you. We've covered the most important of these, so sit back as we tell you about the 5 shocking reasons why Toyota Tacoma is not selling. Number 5. Lackluster engine choices. One of the biggest downsides of the Toyota Tacoma is undoubtedly its extremely lackluster choice of engines. Honestly, we'd expect much more from a mid-sized pickup truck than a measly 2.4 turbocharged 4. Sure, the power plants found in the Tacoma aren't exactly gutless, as the weaker version pushes out a respectable 228 horsepower, and the more powerful 270 horsepower version offers up all the power and torque you'll ever need realistically. However, these engines simply lack the refinement and finesse that a V6 engine has to offer, especially a naturally aspirated one. Comparing it to its most prominent peers, such as the Ford Ranger, Nissan Frontier, and the Jeep Gladiator, will exactly show what we're on about. All these trucks offer a V6 engine option, which is simply a much better fit for a truck of this size. Both the Frontier and the Gladiator use a naturally aspirated V6, which is a much simpler design than the turbocharged 4-cylinder that the Tacoma uses. Not to mention that both engines have more power than even the most powerful non-hybrid Tacoma, with the Frontier coming as standard with a whopping 310 horsepower. Oh, and the fact that they're 6-cylinder engines also means that they're significantly smoother running than the Tacoma's Turbo 4. Not to mention that the Ford Ranger has not one, but 2 different V6 options, both of which are far torquier and considerably more powerful than the inline 4 found in the Tacoma. And while yes, the Tacoma IMAX Hybrid does serve as a quote-unquote powerful version of the truck, its increased weight and decreased practicality overall simply make it much less usable than one would expect. Number 4. Fuel economy is mediocre at best. Because the Tacoma uses the smallest engine in its class, you wouldn't be at fault for expecting the Tacoma to be super economical. However, unfortunately, this wouldn't be the case. You see, despite its small engine, the Toyota Tacoma in its non-hybrid configuration guzzles quite a bit of fuel. A 4-wheel drive Tacoma will only do 23 miles per gallon on the highway and a maximum of 20 miles per gallon in the city. Oftentimes, even less than that. This is very bad to hear, because a Ford Ranger, equipped with a much more powerful 2.7-liter twin-turbo V6, has the same MPG figures. The 2.3 EcoBoost version is even more economical though, while offering the same levels of power as the more powerful Tacoma. Furthermore, even the Gladiator and the Frontier, both of which have traditional large displacement naturally aspirated V6s, have similar MPG figures, which is truly discouraging. However, the biggest issue is the fact that the engine itself is no more economical than the V6 found in the previous generation Tacoma. Honestly, what's the point of a lower displacement and more complex engine if it isn't going to be any more economical than the larger one? What's even more eyebrow-raising is the fact that the hybrid Tacoma also isn't the best when it comes down to fuel economy. It's worse than the regular Tacoma. You see, even though it can do 23 miles per gallon around town, which admittedly is pretty good, the Tacoma Hybrid does less MPG than the RWD Tacoma on the highway. Toyota's decisions are truly baffling from time to time. Number 3. Very limited towing capacity. One would think that fitting the Tacoma with a torquier turbocharged engine would improve its towing capacity. However, this is just plain and simply not true. The Toyota Tacoma's towing capacity is very limited, especially when compared to its direct rivals. As of now, the non-hybrid version of the Tacoma can tow up to 6,500 pounds, which, albeit not terrible, is still mediocre. Compare this to the Jeep Gladiator and the Chevrolet Colorado's towing capacities, and you'll easily understand how and why the Tacoma lags behind its competitors. Sure, the 7,700-pound towing capacity is reserved only for the top-end models that are specifically bred for towing. However, even comparing the Tacoma to, say, a Ford Ranger, you'll see a massive difference. The Ranger's maximum towing capacity is a whopping 7,500 pounds, 1,000 more than the Tacoma. Now, if you're expecting the hybrid to offer better performance, we're sorry to say that your hopes are in vain. The hybrid is less capable than the non-hybrid version, as it can tow only 6,000 pounds. which is frankly abysmal. Number 2, a very uncomfortable ride. Let's be honest here, you're not buying a mid-sized pickup truck because of comfort. You're buying it because you need a practical workhorse vehicle that won't break the bank and that will fulfill all your needs at once. However, even with that in mind, we have to say that the level of discomfort the Tacoma reaches is far too much, even for us. Toyotas have always been very firm vehicles. However, the Tacoma takes the cake here, as the suspension is borderline unbearable on regular roads. This is especially true for the lower-end models, such as the SR, SR5, and the Pre-Runner, all of which have leaf springs at the back, which both lower the comfort levels as well as mitigate the driving dynamics. Granted, most of Tacoma's rivals also offer leaf springs on their lower models and are also very compromised in terms of comfort. However, the Tacoma remains firm even on the upper echelons of the trim lineup. Now, this has mostly been done because the Tacoma is designed to primarily be a workhorse truck that can be driven both on-road and off-road. While it is a very composed vehicle in the bends, and while it does cope very well with off-road terrains, we have to say that we are extremely disappointed by the fact that it just cannot iron out bumps at all. Honestly, we'd much rather have a less composed truck in the bends that can be comfortable around bumpy roads and towns. The Jeep Gladiator did just that, and most people who own it seem to enjoy its driving experience. After all, who buys a truck for its driving dynamics? Overall, the Toyota Tacoma is by far one of the firmest pickup trucks in its segment. If you're planning on buying one, just know that you'll feel every little imperfection on the road, whether you like it or not. That said, it's still more comfortable than the Colorado, which combines a firm suspension with a very cheap-feeling interior and lackluster seats. However, this isn't a massive compliment. In all honesty, Toyota should have known better. Number 1, an incredibly steep price. First, let us say that the Toyota Tacoma is an accessible truck, as it starts from around $32,000. However, only the low-end trims are accessible, as everything that has even a bit of kit will set you back quite a bit of money. For example, the Tacoma Limited, which is the gold standard Tacoma, costs around $54,000. For that kind of money, you might as well get a Tundra. Not to mention that this is nigh on twice its original asking price. And to top it all off, the limited trim is not even the top-end model, nor are we talking about the hybrid version. Oh no, if you're looking for the top-end Tacoma, you'll have to add $10,000 to $15,000 atop that price, as the TRD Pro and the Trailhunter start from around $65,000. Seriously, what is Toyota thinking about with these prices? Imagine paying almost $70,000 for a mid-sized pickup truck that has lackluster performance and isn't even all that special to begin with. It competes with the Ram 1500 and the F-150, which are the two most popular full-size pickup trucks, and both offer better tech, higher interior quality, and much better practicality and performance. And this is all without dealer markups. Consider the fact of how popular the Tacoma namesake is, as well as the fact that it's still in its first model year. You can expect greater dealer markups once you decide to go out of your way and buy it. As a result of these massively inflated prices, the Toyota Tacoma sales have hit a wall, as they are much less stellar than anticipated. Honestly, even though we consider the Tacoma the best overall vehicle in the midsize pickup truck segment, with this kind of pricing, we'd argue that your money will be best spent elsewhere, at least when talking about higher trim levels. If you're searching for a more budget-friendly option, then the Tacoma might be for you after all. Plus, the high customizability and the variety that Tacoma offers are what keeps it relevant compared to its rivals. Just be sure that you don't need an excess of torque and comfort, because that isn't changing no matter what.